Hey, what is up, guys? It is I, DPX here. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, DPX Talks, for about an hour. I am your host, DPX. It is April 20th. It's 4:20, blaze it, at like 12:40 p.m., but you don't need to know about that. But, yeah, first of all, if you're watching this on YouTube, yeah, I got a little bit of a different camera. My webcam on my computer is not working, so I had to actually use my phone. Yeah, I'm using my phone as a webcam here. Kind of crazy stuff. But yeah. Today is a very special day. I do look forward to this every year. Not shake that. Let's not shake the mic. But, yeah. Today is the day I get to do the WrestleMania recap. So if you're not familiar, I feel like you'd know a bit more if you follow my podcast. But at the same time, my podcast hasn't been that frequent for a little bit, so you'd be remiss for that. But usually I cover, or like on the channel, I talk about video games, movies, television, not like ever wrestling, except for WrestleMania. Ooh, the little visual glitch. Oh, shit. If you're listening to this, that doesn't, like, make a difference at all. But, okay, but, WrestleMania is the exception. I do an entire episode of my podcast about WrestleMania every WrestleMania, right? This year is WrestleMania 41. And I'll just talk about the card and, the matches. I'm gonna go over, like, everything that happens pretty much. And give my thoughts on each match. Maybe, like, if there's a segment, I'll give my thoughts on the segment, And yeah. First off, we're just gonna get right into this, okay? So, first off, before we even start, I do want to praise the set, The set looks fucking amazing. I noticed that, like, the set looks cooler when it's, like, you have an actual theme, you know what I mean? Like, you have, like, I remember a lot of people said last year's was rather disappointing. It didn't look bad. Last year's looked really good, but it didn't really have a theme, It was just WrestleMania 40, But this one, they're in Vegas, so you got, like, a Las Vegas theme with, like, slot machines and, like, a casino and all that, and they played into that, and I think it looks fucking sick. I think it, like, excuse me, I'm a little, I don't know if I'd say sick, but I'm a little, like, I think it's allergy season, so I'm, suffering from that a little bit, so sorry if you hear any, like, disgusting sniffs. I'll try to, like, limit that, or, like, pause it so you don't hear it, but I might forget, so I'm sorry in advance, but, what was I saying? Oh yeah, it might rival 39 with the, like, the Hollywood set. It might rival, I forget what the other one, I think it was, like, the one where they had, like, the face with, like, the big afro, Like, that was really cool. I forget which, I think that was 34? And then, I think it was 32 with, like, the globe and, like, the roller coaster. Like, those are probably the best sets that they've had. So yeah. Really cool. And yeah, we kick off with, let's pull up, I have it here, but, you won't see it. We kick off with, Jey Uso versus Gunther. This one, okay, this one is kind of an interesting match to talk about. Like, even before the match started, like, first off, Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble was, like, that was a stacked Royal Rumble, and, like, Jey Uso winning was, like, the most unexpected, like, option that they had at the time, right? Or, like, I say at the time, but, like, just in general. Like, yeah, that was a stacked Royal Rumble with, like, John Cena in there. You had Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, CM Punk. You had Drew McIntyre. You had AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio were all in there. And then you had Jey Uso winning that one. A lot of people took issue with that. I was cautiously optimistic, because I thought, like, okay, Jey Uso, he's clearly over, like, massively over. His merch sells shitloads, and, like, he's been a part of, like, main event segments. He's even main evented WrestleMania once. So, like, Excuse me. All that, and he's still kind of a mid-carder. This could be, like, his moment to, like, propel him into, like, the main event, right? So he actually lives up to his name, Main Event Jey Uso. The thing is, though, he was... like, he fought Gunther, like, 3 times before this, and he lost, like... Especially, the most questionable thing was having him lose to Gunther at Saturday night's main event clean, right? It wasn't like... It wasn't like a screwy finish. Like, he lost clean, right? But then... And then a week later, having him win the Royal Rumble and challenge Gunther at Mania. That was a little questionable. And it seemed like they really did not know how to build this match for a while. It's like they knew the destination that they wanted to get to, but the build was just... They just didn't know what to do. Excuse me. But the build really took a turn for the better. Sorry about that. It took a turn for the better when it involved Jimmy, and Gunther just absolutely murdered Jimmy and made Jay watch. So it became a lot more personal, and yeah. But as for the match itself, I will say, like, it starts with kind of some cross promotion with the new Fatal Fury game, which I cannot wait for, by the way. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Although I probably will have to mention that a few more times, because that fucking advertisement for that game was all over this show. But it was even in, like, the center of the ring. But I digress. I give it a pass because I'm really looking forward to that game. But anyways, you had, like, the newest character in that game. What's his face? The DJ. Salvatore Ganacci. You had him, like, kind of, like, DJing with a bunch of, like, dancers, and then you had some people with, like, yeet flags, like, running down the entrance ramp, and then you had some cheerleaders in the crowd, and Jey Uso's coming down the crowd. That was a really cool entrance. That made Jey Uso look like an absolute star, in my opinion. He comes down, Gunther comes out, and, I always wondered, like, what a big flashy entrance for Gunther would look like, but I think it was Santi Zap. Shout out Santi Zap. I think he might be the best, like, wrestling content creator in the space right now. But he mentioned that, like, Gunther just didn't want to have, like, his character. He just doesn't want any of that flashy shit. I'm like, you know what? That makes sense. It's very in character for him. So he just has a normal entrance. So then Jay and Gunther have a match. And I will say the match itself isn't anything to write home about. The crowd, by the way, was not good during like the entire night. I don't know what was going on with them. They woke up. I will say they woke up a bit during, like, the match between LA Knight and Jacob Fatu, which we'll get to in a little bit. And they really woke up for, like, the last 2 matches, and especially the main event. But I'd say, like, they were pretty loud during, like, the Tiffany and Charlotte match, but we'll get to that. Getting ahead of ourselves. They were pretty quiet. Like, they weren't that crazy. For a while during this WrestleMania, I felt like I was kind of thinking to myself, this feels like a lot of these matches feel a little low-key, you know? Like, this doesn't really feel like a WrestleMania. But it was the crowd. The crowd... Vegas, you guys need to, like... Well, okay. Gunther and Jay, they have a normal match. It was a really good match for Jay. Like, Jay, I think he gets a lot of hate. But to be fair, like, he still has quite a lot to prove as a single star... Or he had a lot to prove as a single star. Gunther is, like, a bona fide single star, right? But I'd say this was one of Jay's best matches. It might, in fact, be his best, like, singles match. Gunther, this is, like, an average Gunther match. You know, it's not a bad match at all, but it is, like, you know, Gunther's had much better matches. Excuse me. They did tell a very good story throughout the match, though, of, like, Jay, like, kind of doubting himself, but being, like, confident, and, like, Gunther kind of, like, being surprised by, like, what Jay is capable of. You know, very interesting stuff, I'd say. They told a good story. I think the story told throughout the match was more interesting than the match itself. Because I feel like there just wasn't, like, much interesting that actually happened during the match. You know what I mean? Like, no spots that were, like, that interesting. No, like, crazy moves. There was one where, like, Gunther ran out of the ring and he grabbed the title and, like, he's about to try like, flee the match. But then Jey went for a dive and then Gunther hit Jey in the face with the belt. I thought that was interesting. But they have a match. Later on, though, Jey does get Gunther down and he does, like, an Uso splash. And he does another one, and I think he did 3, because the third one, I believe, was when Gunther was, like, on his front. So Jey did it to Gunther's back, which, that's interesting. We've never seen that. And then Gunther's, like, still getting back up. Jey gets Gunther with his with Gunther's submission hold, and Gunther taps. Jey Uso makes Gunther tap. Now, that is something that I was not expecting. I was expecting Jey Uso to win this match. Because I feel like you make Jey Uso win the Royal Rumble. You do all this just to have him lose. Like, you can't do that. Like you have to have him win at this point. Right? So I was expecting him to win, but to have him tap was kind of fucking crazy. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, and I still kind of don't know how I feel about that. People were, like, upset that Gunther tapped, like, right away, you know? But, like, I saw, like, you know, a statistic that Jey Uso is only the second person to make Gunther tap. Ilya Dragunov is the other one, and he tapped right away for that, too. So that's not really the issue. I think it's just, like, that's kind of crazy. Like, you're already, like, there's already people who are not happy about Jey challenging Gunther, and you have Gunther tap. Gunther's not buried, by the way, you know. He signed, like, a new deal with the company. He has his own tour bus, so he's gonna be fine. He's gonna win another world title in the future. He does go down a little bit, but he'll be fine, you know. This was more like a make-or-break moment for Jey. And, yeah, I think, it was a decent match, nothing too crazy. I think, like, when watching the show, like, the crowd didn't sound like the crowd popped that loud for Jey's victory. But then, like, I did see, like, a video from the crowd, like, someone from the crowd filming, like, the end of the match. And the crowd was really loud there. So there's like some disconnect with how it translated onto television, right? But yeah, I'm happy for Jey Uso. His victory does have like an insane amount of dislikes. Like, it's 66% dislikes, which is crazy. But like, I don't know. Like, I understand why you'd be upset about that. You know what I mean? But yeah, sorry about that. I understand why you'd be upset that Jey Uso tapped Gunther out. Again, I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about that. But, I still, like, I don't know, I'm interested to see where this goes. I don't think Jey Uso should be, like, a champion for that long. Like, maybe he doesn't even hold it till SummerSlam. I think that might be a bit, like, I think he at least loses it at SummerSlam. I don't think you like, drag out this title reign. I think you give him, like, a nice, like, thank you run, and I don't, like, maybe you can, like, put it back on him later on, but, like, I think, like, you had to crown him. He was way too over, you know, and you pull the rug out from under him, a lot. You know, he always comes short in, like, these world title matches. He's always so close, but then something happens, and he loses. So I think, like, now you had to do it, and they did it. So, congrats to Jey. I'm interested to see where this goes. Gunther will be fine. Odd that they had him tap. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, but we'll see how that goes, you know? So that's that match. The next match on the card was a match for the WWE, what was it? Yeah, the World Tag Team titles between the New Day and the champions, the War Raiders. Now, I just want to say, first and foremost, that there are 2 tag titles. Like, there are 2 sets of tag titles. There's the ones on Raw, excuse me, which are these tag titles, and then the ones on SmackDown. You know, the SmackDown tag titles have actually had an insane, like, run, you know. For the past, like, oh my god, what's going on with my throat, man? For the past, like, few months, there's been, like, an insane amount of teams going after the tag titles. But for some reason, it's these tag titles that get a match at Mania. The other tag titles don't. Like, I'm not... sorry. I'm not against, like, the Raw tag titles having a Mania match. Just as long as you give the SmackDown ones a Mania match. And they don't. And I think the ship has sailed on that. They're not going to do it. They're doing, like, a big old TLC match on SmackDown. Like, why would you have that at Mania? Like, there's legitimately no reason to not have that shit at Mania. But either way, putting that aside... Oh, sorry about that. I just spit on the screen. But, okay. The build was also non-existent for this match. Like, they had a match on Raw once. It ended in a DQ. Well, now now it's a Mania match. Like, it just came out of nowhere. I was still kind of excited for this match because I thought they can, like, the New Day and the War Raiders, I think, like, those 2 teams are, like, I don't know if they've really ever... They might have crossed paths before, but, like, you know, I think, like, this is just a cool match to, like, see. I think it was an exciting match. And I guess it was kind of just the cool-down match, you know? Like, it was just the match where it's like, well, we just had this big world title match. So now, I guess, we'll have this cool-down match with Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, the New Day. I don't know why... But, yeah, the New Day, the heel New Day as well, by the way, and the War Raiders. And, it seems like they only had this match on this card just so they can do, like, just so it's, like the War Raiders came out in, like, in outfits inspired by Clash of Clans, because they have a big, like, brand deal with Clash of Clans. Is that really the only reason this is... Is that really the reason why this match is on the Mania card? That might be, and I don't, like, that's... Okay, either way, like, it was a decent match for what it was. Like, they had decent chemistry, but it didn't go for that long. And it did end with, like, the New Day being, like, winning the tag champs, which I thought was the right move, you know. I feel like they had, like, the New Day had the best heel turn of 2024, and they just didn't really do anything with, like, to capitalize that afterwards. So this is, like, the first thing they're doing to, like, actually capitalize on their, like, insane heel turn. Yeah, definitely deserved, but this could have been on Raw. You know what I mean? This was a TV match. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say. It was the right move. I will say, like, night one was a little iffy, but I do think, for the most part, it had the right booking, or at the very least, like, the right winners, you know? But I don't really have much else to say about this match. It sort of just happened, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Next up, though, is Jade Cargill versus Naomi in just a normal match. And this is cool because this is the first ever... Well, it's like the first non-women's title match, or, like, women's match not for a title at WrestleMania in, like, 19 years. And the first one to not have, like, a stipulation of any kind ever, you know? And I've been clamoring for that for so long. Like, there have been so many years where, like, you have so many women on the roster, and before, like, you internet people are like, oh, but Triple H doesn't like the women's division. I've been saying this. This has been an issue since before he took over, right? You've had, like, a lot, like, you've had, like, a lot of women, like, on the main roster just not having any matches at Mania because there's just like they just wouldn't like book like a non-title match for them. You know, it was always the title matches, or if there was a non-title match, one of the champions would be involved in the match in some way. You know, it was like it was a lazy way to get them on the card, right? But this was just like two women that hate each other. So, and I think like without like out of all the matches that were not for like a title or anything, I think this match might have had like the best build. In fact, even when you factor in the matches with titles on the line, it still is up there with like one of the best builds. But like in terms of like the non-title matches at this year's Mania, this had like one of the better builds. And it was interesting because you have like Jade Cargill, who's like, you know, their big up-and-comer, you know, like this is her first big match in the company, and it's clear that they have big plans for her. It's clear that they like want her to be like the future of the women's division. But you also have Naomi, who like excuse me, really like reinvented herself recently with this new heel turn and this like caution gimmick, you know, like she really is like truly unique as a heel. So you may like it is sort of interesting where like in a normal world, if it was just a heel Naomi where like she's just kind of like the same character except bad now, like it would be simple, like yeah, Jade Cargill's winning, you know, because she has more to gain to win. But then like you have like this new version of Naomi, and it kind of made it a bit more interesting who could win, you know what I mean? And I'd say like Naomi had a pretty cool entrance, like coming out of the like coming through the the caution tape. I thought that was cool. I think her thing being like proceed with caution, like I think that's a cool like sort of like catchphrase or whatever to say. Got a new like theme song and a new like just completely new presentation now, which I think like I really dig it. And then for Jade Cargill, they do like this cool little weather report because it's like she's the storm, you know, so they have this nice little like weather report thing for her. And she comes out and she looks like an absolute star. They both look like absolute stars. And they proceed to have a pretty solid match. I think up to this point, this was maybe the best match of the night. You know, they didn't go for that long, but honestly, like, I don't think it needed to. Like, maybe you could have said, like, Jade Cargill maybe could have squashed Naomi, but I think, like, you want to make Naomi look strong because she just reinvented herself. But also, like, you make it look like Jade actually, like, you make her want to seem dominant while still, like, having her, you know, kind of fight to win the match. You know what I mean? And I thought that was a good idea. The finish was pretty cool. Like, she put Naomi into this, like, insane, like, power bomb, you know? Like, and then did Jaded to her. And then, like, that was, like, an insane sight to see. Like, that was pretty cool. And, yeah, they kind of just had a fight, which I like that, you know? Like, I'm if for no other reason, I'm happy that we just got like a WrestleMania match between two women that are not fighting for a title. They're not really fighting for anything. It's just two women that hate each other, and it had the best build. It had one of the better builds of this WrestleMania. You know, like I think. Like, this was as good of a match as we could have gotten. You know, it made Jade Cargill look really cool. It made Naomi look really cool. Like, there was worries going in that, like, you know, this is Jade Cargill's first, like, big match. You know, and, like, she doesn't have Bianca Belair, like, teaming with her, right? To, like, sort of, like, hide Jade Cargill's, like, weaknesses in the ring. You know, so it's just Jade, like, in a singles match. But I think, like, Naomi did do a great job carrying Jade, but also Jade just looked really good on her own. And by the way, I think the idea that Jade Cargill is, like, still green, like, she still is kind of green, but I don't think she's nearly as green as, like, people are saying she is. I think she is very ready to be on, like, a big stage like this, you know, if this match proved anything. So I think a solid match, and I'm interested to see where, and I don't think, yes, Naomi does kind of lose, like, a bit of momentum, because, you know, this is her first first match as, like, this new character, but I think she'll be fine, you know. Excuse me. I think you can have Jade Cargill, like, in this other, like, high-profile feud, or maybe, like, to have, like, a rematch with Naomi. Have Naomi win, like, Money in the Bank, but then have Jade beat Naomi in, like, in just a normal match. So it's like, Naomi loses, but she's still kind of protected. You know what I mean? That's what I would say, but I thought this was a solid match. Next up is, for the United States champion, we got the champion, LA Knight, versus Jacob Fatu, who is getting really over. So I'll say for him as well. But, the build for this match was not... It was basically non-existent. They still had, like, a hype video for it, though, which I don't know, like, there was no... Like, what do you... like, I didn't even see the hype video, because I don't have, like, the premium subscription on Peacock, so I just... So a bunch of ads played instead, but, I don't know what they could have possibly done for the hype video for this one, but, yeah. Either way, though, like... Jacob Fatu, like, didn't have, like, a big flashy entrance, but, like, he came out with Solo, and, Solo looked really... There was a lot of, like, speculation that, maybe Solo comes in and, costs Jacob the match. Seeing how, like, Solo, like, hyped up Jacob, I didn't think that was gonna happen. At that point, like, Jacob, or Solo looks way too excited for Jacob to, like, actually cost him the match, you know what I mean? And then LA Knight comes in like a big, like a nice car, and you know, and they went on to have a pretty decent match. You know, I kind of did mention this earlier. The crowd woke up a bit for this one. You know, the crowd was kind of dead for a majority of the night, but they kind of did wake up for this match. Like, they were pretty excited for this match. You know, they were, like, Jacob Fatu was really over, and, you know, and, like, LA Knight just went on to have a really solid match with Jacob Fatu. This is probably LA Knight's best WWE match. You know, like, LA Knight's kind of had, like, a reputation of not being that good in the ring. Like, he's more of, like, an entertaining character, and he has, like, a, like, you know... He's like, sorry, just the wind just distracted me, but he's like a good talker. But when it comes to the in-ring stuff, not that he's bad, I never thought he was bad, but he is definitely like not the best. But I think he's definitely gotten like a lot better, like, over time, and he's like, I think he's really good now. And then this match, like, he did a great job in this match. Jacob is an absolute star. You know, this is his first title win, so Jacob Fatu wins this match, wins the U.S. title. A little moment where he celebrated with his father, which was nice to see. Like, this is... I think this is only the first title that we're seeing Jacob Fatu win. He's going to win a lot of titles. He's going to be, like, a world champion. And I was thinking maybe, like, he could be Money in the Bank. He could win Money in the Bank. But I think, no, like, you have him just win a world title. Like, not cash it in. Like, he has a match, and he wins the title. Like, that's what I think, like... Is like he's definitely the future of this company. And he's crazy, you know, doing like these crazy ass moonsaults for a guy his size. There was one moment that was kind of fucking insane where like Jacob does a moonsault, but then LA Knight counters it into like a BFT, and then Jacob fucking kicks out of that shit. Like, this was a good match. I don't really have much to say about it. They just kind of went in there and had a match. But it was a solid match. And the crowd definitely helped it. Like, at least in comparison to the other matches. Because they actually, like, woke up for this one. You know, they were chanting Fatu the whole time. And LA Knight is, like, one of the most over guys in the company right now. And even then, like, I don't really think anyone was chanting for LA Knight. They were chanting for Jacob, you know. I do think there was at one point, like, there was, like, a mixed chant where it was, like, let's go Jacob, L.A. Knight. Like, I think that happened at one point, but for the most part, like, the crowd was on Jacob's side. And I do think, like, it is a little disappointing that L.A. Knight's second U.S. title reign kind of ended short. I think it's not so much the fact that it ended here. It's more that like it started not too long ago. Like I like the idea of him dropping it to Nakamura originally, but then they didn't really do anything with Nakamura as champion. So like they should have put the title back on LA Knight a lot earlier than they did, but they didn't. But either way, I think like Jacob Fatu definitely needed this win, and he'll be like, I think he's gonna have an insane run with the U.S. title. Maybe he does what Gunther did to the Intercontinental Champion. Maybe Jacob does that to this to the U.S. title, like, and just makes it incredibly prestigious, because they did a great job like restoring the prestige in the for the IC title, but they still have some work to do with the U.S. title. But I think maybe they'll like, this could be when they do that. And I think Jacob Fatu is like a good guy to do that with, you know. And as for LA Knight, I think he's deserved like a world title like sometime later this year. Maybe you can have him win Money in the Bank, you know. Rumors of Money in the Bank this year being in LA, so you have LA Knight in there. Boom, right there. But I think like he's definitely earned it. And even though like his second run as US champion wasn't like that eventful, I do think it was solid, you know. Like you did have like Jacob Fatu and Braun Strowman fighting for like an opportunity against the the LA Knight for the US title, and like, you know, they had a pretty like intense feud, and they both really want. So I think that says a lot about the US title, you know. And I hope LA Knight, like, I think he really does deserve a world title like feud or like a win in the future. Well, we'll see what happens, but yeah, good match. Probably the best match of the night so far. It was like, I still don't know if like this match was better or if it was like Jade, Cargill, and Naomi, but I think the crowd was more awake for this match. So yeah. Anyways, moving on to the next match. We have El Grande Americano versus not Rey Mysterio, it's Rey Fenix. So there's some stuff like to talk about here even before we get to the match. Like, El Grande Americano is like, he kind of grew on me. Like, I thought this was dumb at first, and he's been quite the controversial character on Twitter, and I don't want to get into like that stuff because they said he's from the Gulf of America, so obviously, you know, that creates a lot of controversy. You know, I feel like it's more people pretending to be upset about something, you know. Like, if it's actual Mexicans getting upset, I think that's reasonable, but something tells me that's not the case. But let's not get into that. You know, I might just put a target on my back by saying that, but fuck. Look, this is, like, all jokes aside, it's definitely Chad Gable, like, playing a luchador, and, like, you can, this is, like, a fun little side quest for him to be on. I do really like it, and I thought, like, the idea of Chad Gable, but for this, we'll just call him El Grande Americano, and we'll continue the joke that there's no way it's Chad Gable, right? But, El Grande Americano versus, Rey Mysterio, I thought would have been, like, a cool, fast-paced, like, technical match, but then, like, on SmackDown, Rey Mysterio got injured, like, for real, and I don't think, some people are speculating it's a work. I don't think it's a work. Like, it could have been a way to get Rey Fenix onto the card, but at the same time, like, you do that at the expense of Rey Mysterio. Like, I feel like Rey Mysterio is someone you want on the card, but, like, he got injured, you know? Like, it's one thing if it's, like, someone else, you know, but Rey Mysterio, I feel like you kind of want Rey Mysterio on the card. So it looked pretty rough, his injury. So yeah, wishing Rey Mysterio a speedy recovery. But what a good backup for Rey Fenix, someone who like just debuted, had like he had a good run in AEW until he didn't, you know, until like they just kept him hostage basically in AEW. That's a whole thing that I don't want to get into. That's a whole rabbit hole, but excuse me. But he like just debuted in WWE like a couple of weeks ago. He's had like 3 matches before, and he's already like in a WrestleMania match against like Chad Gable. Let's be real. Yeah, they went out there. El Grande Americano had a pretty cool entrance with like a whole mariachi band and like a cool like different aesthetic. Like, you probably doesn't like make that much of a difference if you're watching at the stadium, but like on television, like they do this whole like old movie aesthetic with a whole mariachi band wearing luchador masks, and you got El Grande Americano there, and he had a pretty cool entrance. And then Rey Fenix, he didn't have like a special entrance for him. Like, they probably couldn't give him one because he was a last minute addition. But I just think his entrance in general is really cool. So, that was really cool to see on a WrestleMania stage. And it's really cool. It's really cool to see Rey Fenix already having like a WrestleMania match. So like that's what I mean. Like, you're not gonna do Rey Mysterio. Like, Rey Fenix, like that's a good backup. Like, how lucky are they that they have Rey Fenix as a backup? It is a little disappointing that they didn't go with Dragon Lee for the second year in a row. Him getting shafted for an AEW guy. I hope he does get his WrestleMania match at some point. But yeah, and this also like was like kind of like a sponsored match, but like this one was different because they had Vikingo from AAA in the crowd, and they wanted to promote that, which, by the way, it was announced just before the show that WWE has acquired AAA, the Lucha Libre Mexican promotion, which I heard fucking sucks, by the way. So WWE probably acquired them as they were dying, but still, like, they acquired like a notable promotion, so that's interesting. That's cool. And they're doing interesting. They're already announced some interesting things that they're doing with them already. So, yeah, interested to see how that goes. But as for this match, they had a fast-paced, like, entertaining match. Like, doing some, like, insane, like, Rey Fenix. I think this actually made Rey Fenix look fucking sick. Like, he looked like an absolute star. And even though he lost, which originally I wasn't sure if it was a good idea to have him lose, because this is only, like, his 4th match, and he gets pinned. And yeah, I still don't quite agree with that, but at the same time, this whole match did make him look like a star. I think he does look really good in defeat. And you had Vikingo at the end, kind of like helping him back up. I thought this was a solid match, a good fast-paced match of the two. Just sorry, I thought I heard someone, but it was a very solid, fast-paced match of the two. Just just doing flips, doing like suplexes and stuff like that. And so I'm curious because it's like, what, like, people are unsure what the result would have been. Excuse me. What the result would have been if they had, instead of Rey Fenix, they had Rey Mysterio there, right? Here's the thing. I don't know if the result would have been different, because Rey Mysterio can definitely afford a loss more than Rey Fenix, right? Like, the newly debuted guy who's had 3 matches versus the luchador legend, who can afford the loss more, I feel like the luchador legend can afford the loss more. So if the plan was for Rey to win, okay, I shouldn't call him Rey because then there's another Rey, but if the plan was for Rey Mysterio to win, but now he can't do it, so now they're like, okay, we can give El Grande Americano the win over Rey Fenix. That would be a bit odd. So I don't know what the original plan was, but I still thought this was a good match. I don't think Rey Fenix is hurt. This does hurt him a little bit because it is a very early loss for him, but I feel like it could have had him win, but then, like, I feel like the El Grande Americano stuff would have had to end, you know? I think, like, that stuff ends when, like, you take off his mask and it's somehow, some way, Chad Gable. But, like, all jokes aside, Chad Gable is, like, he has, like, I'm proud that, I'm happy that he's, got a Mania match, even if he's not advertised as Chad Gable. I still think it's really cool that he's finally, like, worked himself to get, like, a WrestleMania singles match, you know? So yeah, solid match. Not 100% sure about the result, but at the same time, like, not, like, Rey Fenix will be fine. He's got a bright future in this company, you know, and he still looked really good in this match. And, of course, El Grande Americano is still, like, pretty over, you know. So, yeah, the next match is an interesting match to talk about, I feel. It is, oh boy, this one, I'm a little unsure how to even talk about this one. But it is the match for the WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton, defending against Charlotte Flair. This probably had the weakest feud, or the weakest build, of the whole show, of the whole Mania. Maybe not that. You had, like, the War Raiders and the New Day, which didn't really have a build, but, like, I guess of the matches that had, like, a substantial and significant build where there was actually, like, a lot of time, this one was probably the weakest, you know what I mean? So it was just, like, Charlotte Flair, like, wins the Royal Rumble, and everyone kind of hates it. Like, that was, like, we all kind of wanted this match, by the way. Like, we all this was kind of a dream match, you know? Two stars that should mesh very well together. But they do the big mistake of having Charlotte Flair win the Royal Rumble, and, like, have her as a babyface, and not really have her be, like, you know, you're not having her work for it, you know? And then, like, all, like, the promos between Charlotte and Tiffany it's like Charlotte's just, like, Tiffany came out of each of those promos looking really bad until, like, there was some moments where there's, like, that one promo section where they, like, where they went seriously off script and it got, like, really personal, but we get to here. And we see Tiffany Stratton. She has, like, a really cool entrance coming out of, like, a Barbie box. That looks sick. You know, that already, I think, made Tiffany look like an absolute star, you know. Charlotte Flair comes out of a nice car. I don't know why that's the second one of the night, you know. Yeah, that still looked pretty cool. I think Tiffany had the flashier entrance. There's one entrance that we'll get to later in the main event, but aside from that, I think Tiffany might have had, like, the best entrance of the night. And they went on to have a match. And here's the thing. I was trying to watch it, but, like, I was watching with two other people, and they were having some, like, dumbass fucking conversation the whole time. But, like, the match, I thought, like, the crowd definitely woke up for that match. They were fully behind Tiffany. They were booing the hell out of Charlotte. But I will say the match was a little sloppy. It was, like, it was a decently paced match. They had, like, there were some cool spots, and I think the crowd, I guess just in comparison to, like, the rest of the night, the crowd woke up for this match. But it was sloppy. The two did not have that much chemistry, and Charlotte looked like she was sandbagging a bit. For those that don't know, because I feel like my subscribers are, like, I don't think they're really wrestling fans, and they probably don't know some of these terms that I'm sharing. So, in case you don't know what sandbagging is, it's basically, like, you know, they're selling, which is, like, you make like someone punches you and you fall back and react and make it look like the punch is actually hurt. Sandbagging is just not doing that pretty much. And it looked like Charlotte was sandbagging. Charlotte looked a little off in this match. Surprisingly, Tiffany was the one who I think came out of this match looking really good. And the right winner. It was the right winner. Tiffany won. People were so certain that Charlotte Flair was gonna win, but I kind of thought you don't do this match to have Tiffany lose. And it would be one thing if she had a long run with the title, but she kind of hasn't. I guess she hasn't had a short run with the title, but she hasn't done much. She hasn't defended it that much, really. This is her first big defense, since winning. But yeah, they had a lot of people didn't like this match. I thought it was a decent match. I remember definitely thinking it was a solid match when I watched it, but then I watched some other I rewatched some highlights of it, and I went through some people's reactions, and then I watched the highlights. I mean, and I'm oh yeah, I can see it now. But Tiffany won, and I don't think they should continue this feud. I don't think they should do a trilogy. I thought that was the right call to have Tiffany win. Because Charlotte didn't need to win this, she's a multi-time champion. She's gonna win champions in the future, but I don't think she needs to be the be-all end-all of the women's division anymore. She shouldn't stop Tiffany in her big push. She's one of the future faces of this company, I feel, and she's massively over, and I just think this was the right call to have Tiffany win. She had a chipped tooth in this match, though. That looked rough. Yeah, there was just some moments that just didn't really work. There's Charlotte Flair went for a natural selection from the the top turnbuckle, which on paper sounds cool, but it didn't really connect. It looked a little off. There's this spot with the figure four and all that, which was cool, but even that looked a little botched. But yeah, all right match, but I was expecting this match to be a possible match of the night contender. It wasn't really. I think both women should move on. Maybe move Charlotte to Raw and keep Tiffany on SmackDown, have her feud with some other people, and when she drops the title, hopefully it's to someone who's a bit more interesting than just Charlotte Flair. Nothing against Charlotte Flair, but I feel she should do what Becky Lynch did for a while, where she's just in sort of an upper card feud, not for a title, right? I feel you should have something like that for Charlotte, not have her this was, I do think this was a cool feud to put to do, and you kind of needed it to be for a title, but I just don't think Charlotte should be winning a women's title anytime soon. Maybe you could have her win one of the mid-card titles. I actually don't think that would be a terrible idea. It would add some prestige to those titles, because neither of those fucking women's mid-card titles that they just introduced are being defended on either night of WrestleMania. Kind of fucking stupid. Why did you introduce those titles in the first place? I don't know, but I digress. They had the right winner here. Tiffany looked like $1 million in this match, but it was a bit of a sloppy match, if I'm going to be honest. So, yeah. Next up was the main event. I want to see it. Okay, there's nothing. Sometimes there's some segments that happen in between matches, you know what I mean? Shawn Michaels at one point came out to announce the attendance. I don't know when that happened, if that already happened by this point, but we're gonna move on to the main event, and it is Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. Now this is the reason, if people are gonna be talking about night one, people are gonna be talking positively about night one because of this match. This match saved night one for a lot of people. I'd say okay, I'll get my thoughts on night one in a second. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But, yeah, the build wasn't the best, you know, and it was a little thrown together. Like, you had a feud between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. You had, like, a potential Mania match between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. And you have, like, a feud that hasn't started, or that hadn't started yet. But, like, you know, we're gonna get to that eventually in CM Punk and Roman Reigns, right? And then, so you get to, you kind of threw all them together, and that is a little sloppy. Like, there's like 3 potential matches, you know, but you don't want to, like, they didn't want to do like Seth versus Punk 3. They didn't want to do Roman versus Seth, and they didn't want to do Roman versus Punk. They just wanted to do, or I mean, like, they did want to do all those, but they couldn't decide, so they would just throw all them together, right? That's what they did. So yeah, I think, you know, the build was a little iffy. You know, there's like a lot of history between all 3 of these guys, like especially with Punk and those, like, obviously there's history between Roman and Seth, and they touched on that, but like there's a lot of history between those 2 and Punk, and they didn't really touch on that, I feel. But I mean, that hype video was fucking like an 11 out of 10 hype video. I did see the hype video despite not seeing it. I feel like, by the way, fuck you, Peacock, for playing ads during the hype video for the main event. Like, I get maybe playing ads during the hype video for like other matches in the night, but don't fucking do that during the main event, you piece of shit. Anyways, we start, Seth Rollins is the first one to come out with like an all black attire, and he has a fucking flamethrower in his hands, lighting up like the Titantron, and then like the Titantron is now displaying fire. I think that looked amazing. And then the lights go dark, the music stops, lights go back on, and he's in an all white attire, and the music starts playing again. That looked really cool. That was a really cool entrance for Seth. Then Roman came out. He didn't really have like a special entrance or anything. It was just like him coming out, and I think what was interesting, what was cool, is like he looks to his side and Paul Heyman's not there. You know, he always looks to his side. Paul Heyman's right there, like doing like this with him. He wasn't there that time. That was a nice little attention to detail. And then for CM Punk, they made a big deal that this is CM Punk's first like WrestleMania main event. He's always wanted a main event WrestleMania. So yeah, that was cool. They do like a nice video for him. Like, it's basically like celebrating his career almost, you know. And they're playing like This Fire Burns, you know, like his old theme song. And they showed like old footage of him like in, I was about to say in Ring of Honor. It was not Ring of Honor. They do not have the rights to Ring of Honor. But like is his very early days in his like wrestling career, right? Which that was really cool. And then Living Color does a live performance. You know, the band that does CM Punk's theme song. And CM Punk had the best entrance of the night. It almost felt like, you know, like this is CM Punk's magnum opus. I think that's probably why they had Paul Heyman in his corner, you know. Because, like, that's the cherry on top, you know? Which I think that was, like, a cool thing. Like, you had This Fire Burns, that you had, like, showing a bunch of, like, footage of, like, his, like him in, like, years past, you know? You had, like, a Living Color live performance and Paul Heyman by his side. CM Punk looked like an absolute megastar here. You know what I mean? And then CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins proceed to have a fucking epic match. Like, I saw on Twitter, and Twitter could be a negative space, I know. But I saw on Twitter people were predicting the spots, and they're kind of like, oh, this is all this match is going to be. It's going to be this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, whoop-de-doo. They didn't happen. You know, it was a lot less predictable. They did do moments where it was like, it felt like a singles match with like another guy just out of the picture. Like, there was a moment where Punk and Rollins went into the crowd and just started fighting each other. And they took some like serious shots to each other. Like, I forget who did this to who, but one of them took a trash can and like hit the other in the face really hard with it. And then I also forgot which one who did what, but like one of them took like one of those like WrestleMania chairs. In fact, I'm actually kind of, if you can see, for like the YouTube viewers, and my laptop is loud, I have a WrestleMania 25 chair. I was not at WrestleMania 25, but yeah, sorry about that, but long story how I got this, but yeah, it was a chair kind of like that, and I think Rollins was hitting Punk with that, which, by the way, is not gonna hurt because of the cushion. Maybe it'll hurt, but like it won't. Like, it's got a cushion, so that maybe that's not as effective as you'd think. But yeah, they just brawled around they brawled around the crowd, and till randomly Roman just like they go back to like the barricade, or the inside of the barricade, and then Roman just does an insane like jump over the barricade onto both Rollins and Punk. So that was crazy, and you don't see Roman doing like crazy athletic shit like that. He's a big guy that's like slow and plodding, and like does like these big heavy punches, and like does spears and like Superman punches. He doesn't like do giant ass jumps like that. Like, that was pretty cool to see. Right, but what was I saying? So they just went on to have a crazy good match. Match of the night, by far. Could be a match of the weekend, maybe. We'll see how night 2. We'll see how tonight, at the time of recording, it's tonight. We'll see how that goes. But like, it's just like three guys that like have really good chemistry with each other. Roman has good chemistry with Seth. Seth has good chemistry with Punk, and Punk has good chemistry with Roman. The second, like, they were teasing that this was going to be the match, like, a triple threat match between these three. The second that happened, I'm kind of like, oh, that's going to be a good match. I don't know how I feel about them doing a triple threat match as opposed to, like, singles matches, but that's good. That triple threat's going to be a good match. And it's good to also see, like, a night, like, a kind of like how it was nice to see a women's match not for a title at WrestleMania, just two women just hating each other and they just want to fight. It was cool to see a triple threat match that wasn't for a title. They were just three guys that hate each other and they just want to fight each other. I thought that was really cool. You get other moments like Seth Rollins setting up Roman for a pedigree, but then Roman like reverses it, and then he like runs up for a spear, but then Seth counters it to a pedigree. That was pretty cool. You got a moment where like I feel like Roman had Seth in like the like a the Kimura lock. I think that's what it's called. Or maybe I'm getting that mixed up with something else. But this like in his submission, and I think Punk gave either Roman or Seth a curb stomp, and then that's Seth's finisher, which is cool. When there was a moment where like CM Punk gave Seth a GTS, and then as Seth was like selling the GTS, he gave Roman a curb stomp. Like, that was really cool. Like, there's just like a bunch of cool ass moments like that happened. And I did mention there were some moments where it felt like a singles match, but then one guy was out of the equation, right? Those are some moments. For like other moments, like for the most part, it felt like just a triple threat match, Like there was a moment where like I think this might have happened when Seth like did the pedigree to Roman. CM Punk was like on the ground, like Seth was about to pin Roman, but then he pushes Punk out of the ring, so like Punk's out of the equation that way. I think that's cool. But then like at the point where all three of them are kind of neutralized, all three of them are down. Paul Heyman, well, I didn't mention this. a good chunk of this build was like Roman and Punk fighting over Paul Heyman, right? Paul Heyman grabs a chair and he's looking at both Punk and Roman. He gives it to Punk. Then CM Punk goes to hit Roman with the chair, but before he can do that, Paul Heyman gets behind Punk and gives Punk a low blow. Excuse me. It's like, oh my god, he's with Roman. He's with Roman again. Roman's like, you know, he's in disbelief. He's like, really happy that his wise man is back. Paul Heyman gives Roman the chair. Roman starts beating up Punk with the chair, and then Paul Heyman's like, look over there. Look, it's Seth. Get Seth. You know, and then you can win. Then Roman is like slowly about to hit Seth Rollins with the chair. And then Paul Heyman gets behind Roman. Low blow to Roman. And then he gives Seth the chair. Seth hits Roman with the chair. Seth then gives Roman the curb stomp. And then Seth pins Roman Reigns. Which I think, like, you know, this is definitely not, like, the biggest part of what happened, but, like, this kind of got lost in the shuffle. Roman just took a fucking pin. Roman, like, does not get pinned. He just got pinned, though, you know? So, Seth Rollins wins the match, and he is now a Paul Heyman guy. And I think it's safe to say both Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins are both heels now. Like, Seth Rollins was... Like, the thing about this match was, like, you had three guys who were kind of baby faces, but also kind of heels. I'd say CM Punk was leaning more towards a baby face. Roman was, like, a tweener. And then you had Seth, who was, like, really starting to become a heel. But none of them were, like, full-blown heels. Now Seth Rollins, I'd say, is a full-blown heel. Like, he like, that was heelish. Yeah, so crazy ending. I'm interested to see how this turns out in the long run. Because I think as a moment, like, Paul Heyman aligning himself with Seth Rollins is insane. But in the long term, I'm interested to see, like, how that turns out with Seth Rollins as a Paul Heyman guy. Because I'm not quite sure if he needs Paul Heyman by his side, but at the same time, like, Roman didn't need Paul Heyman by his side, and neither did CM Punk. But I guess, like, Paul Heyman has, like, kind of entered that territory where, like, originally you pair up a wrestler with a manager because the wrestler is not a good talker on the mic. Like, the promos are not good, so you want, like, a manager to kind of talk for them. Or maybe you have, like, a monster heel who, like, you know, has, like, mystique around them, and they don't want to talk, you know, because that kind of ruins the mystique if they talk. So you have a manager, you know. Paul Heyman has entered that territory where, like, he's just be aligned with someone. You know, he doesn't need to be their mouthpiece, right? But even still, like, I'm just not entirely sure how you, like, where you take this, where you take Seth Rollins as a Paul Heyman guy. But I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. And this was a banger match. A match that will rightfully be the thing that people remember from night 1 of WrestleMania. We'll see how night 2 goes, but yeah, as a whole, though, that puts an end to WrestleMania 41, night 1. And as a whole, look, it was WrestleMania, so that, like, does a lot of heavy lifting. That makes it fun inherently, but the crowd was, like, dead for a lot of it. I'd say they really woke up during the Tiffany and Charlotte match, and then they were, like, you know, they were a WrestleMania crowd during the main event, right? The best matches from night 1, I'd say, obviously the main event. I'd say, like, honestly, I don't think there was, like, a bad match. Like, there was a forgettable match in the New Day and Viking Raiders. or War Raiders is what they're now called. And there was a kind of a disappointing, although not terrible, match between Tiffany and Charlotte, right? I thought, like, you know, Jey Uso versus Gunther was a fine match, but, like, they told a great story, and there was a great crowning moment for Jey Uso. Jade, Cargill, and Naomi had one of the better matches of the night. Jacob Fatu and LA Knight had one of the better matches of the night. And Rey Fenix and El Grande Americano had a really solid match. And then, obviously, the main event probably stole the fucking show. I'm interested to see what night 2 is. I honestly thought, like, they put a lot of, like, matches that don't feel like WrestleMania matches, like, inherently on this card. And I feel like a good chunk of them were night 1. Night 2, I think, has the more exciting matches. So we'll see how that goes. And, yeah, for you guys, or for me, I'll see you guys, like, tomorrow. But for you guys, it's not going to matter. You're going to see me in, like a few seconds. Hey everybody, I am back. It is me, DPX. I'm not going to reintroduce myself because I just hit something. But for you guys, no time has passed. Yeah, you might notice that I sound different and it looks like I'm somewhere else. Excuse me. That's because I am somewhere else. I am not in the podcast studio. I'm here. And also, excuse me, yeah, it's a little echoey in here, so hopefully it's not that bad. Excuse me. But yeah, it is WrestleMania Night 2, WrestleMania Saturday or Sunday that I'm here to talk about. And this one, there's been a lot of backlash to this one. You know, before we get into the matches, we had some really good matches. Like, I think overall this might have been better than Night 1. But the main event, we'll get to that. But, alright, let's just get into everything. It starts with Stephanie McMahon saying, "Welcome to WrestleMania." That was pretty cool. But then it starts with one of the matches I was looking forward to the most. The triple threat match for the Women's World Champion. Excuse me. It was Io Sky defending the title against Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair. So starts with, like, Io Sky. She has, like, a pretty cool entrance. It's not like, she doesn't have, like, a big flashy entrance or anything like that, but it's a cool little entrance, I feel. It's just, like, it's her normal entrance, but on a big stage, so it looks really cool. Bianca Belair has a pretty cool entrance with a bunch of other girls, like, jump roping and shit, and dancing around, which I thought looked pretty cool. And apparently her stepdaughter was there, so they had a little moment. And the crowd was booing Bianca, by the way. They, like, for whatever reason, the crowd just made Bianca the heel, despite the fact that she is kind of the babyface of this story. But, you know, the crowd, I was watching this with my brother, and I mentioned that the crowd's booing Bianca, and he said, like, oh, it's because she's kind of just, like, a Super Cena. And I can maybe see that, but she isn't really. I think maybe people are, maybe, like, Bianca winning is too predictable, so that's why they booed her, but I don't know. And then Rhea Ripley came out looking like the Batman who laughs, you know, like, I saw, like, a little Twitter post of, like, a side-by-side thing. So she looked pretty cool. And they went on to have a banger of a match. I think, in terms of, like, moments, the Night 1 main event might have been better, but, like, in terms of just in-ring Oh, did you guys hear that? Here, give me a second. Alright, sorry about that, but I dealt with it. So, yeah, in terms of in-ring action, what I was saying, in-ring action, I think this match might have been match of the weekend. Although, maybe, I'm not sure yet. You know, I still need time to think about it, but I think the two triple threat matches are the best matches of the weekend. But, you know, they just had, like, a nice, like, fast-paced, like, hard-hitting matchup. There was, like, you had... And it was, like, a proper triple threat match, I feel. It wasn't the type of triple threat where, like, you got two people fighting each other with the third person like just sitting on the outside, and then the third person gets involved, but then one of the other two people has to sit out. Like that's not what was happening. You know, they had like an actual triple threat match. It was just the three of them just beating each other up, you know? I liked how at the beginning, because they told an interesting story here. It's like the main feud is between Bianca and Rhea, but Io is kind of like the third wheel, then she's being treated like an afterthought. And normally, like, a lot of these triple threat feuds do that, especially, like, even when, like, there's the champion is the third wheel, that often happens. And that's what happened here. But they played into that, which I thought was cool, because it made it so that, like, it made it less damaging to Io by having her getting, like, pushed aside, when the whole point is that she is trying to prove that she's not an afterthought, right? So I thought that was cool, and they played into that here because at the very beginning it was like Bianca and Rhea like staring each other down, and they were about to push Io aside, but Io was prepared for that and countered both of them. So that was cool. And then one interesting thing though, I mentioned Bianca was getting booed at the beginning, like when she entered, and she was getting booed throughout like the entire match. Sorry about that. She was getting booed throughout the entire match, and at one point she even like played into it. So like I thought I was a little iffy about a Bianca Belair heel turn, because I always thought like she does too much like ambassador stuff outside of the ring. You know, like she's almost like a role model to a bunch of young girls who watch the product. But like they might have to turn her heel after this. But she was great. Rhea was great. Io was great. They like sorry, give me a second. But yeah, there was like some cool spots that happened. Like there was one point where Io was going on top of the like top rope to do like a moonsault onto Rhea, but then Rhea went up there to like do a suplex to Io, but then Bianca took Rhea and Io and kind of just dropped both of them. Like that was cool. There was like a little like moment where Rhea and Bianca were fighting each other, and I think Rhea got like the better of Bianca, but then Io just comes out of nowhere and just like drop kicks, like does like a missile drop kick, I think, to Rhea. I'm gonna have to do that with the laptop. Sorry about that, but yeah, like just some crazy spots. Like it made all three of them look really cool. And also like I always thought, this is just sort of like a side tangent sort of thing, I always thought Rhea Ripley was really good at selling, and for a while nobody talked about it until recently. People are starting to like notice how good of a seller she is, like more recently. But throughout this match, Io Sky was selling like crazy, you know. So they go through a bunch of shit, and then eventually you get up to a moment where I think I think Rhea tries the Riptide to Bianca. I need to rewatch this match, you know, because this was a really good match, but I just need to rewatch it. But Rhea tries the Riptide to Bianca, but Bianca counters it into a KOD, does it to Rhea, is about to pin Rhea, but then Io does like the moonsault onto Bianca, and then pins Bianca, and then Io retains. So that's really cool. I was really thinking Bianca was gonna win, just because like that kind of just felt like the safer pick, and I feel like there is more like opportunity, like there's more stuff you can do with Bianca winning. But I did really want Io to win, because I mean she's gotten really over during this feud. Like she's the before we got to the match, out of any of these three women, I think Io is the one who's benefited the most from this feud, you know? So having her win was definitely the right call. And like, Bianca was pretty much undefeated at WrestleMania before this, and they made a big deal of that last year. Not so much this year. She's the one who got pinned. So not only did her streak end, she also got pinned. And we don't have to count that battle royal, you know. But yeah, this was a solid match. I don't really know where Io goes from here. There's quite a few things you can do with Bianca still. You can have her with Jade or Naomi, or you can have her feud with Rhea, which is definitely like what they're going to build to. And that could be what Rhea does. You know, that could be an interesting way to keep them out of the title picture. But the problem with Io winning, and I think it's the right call, but the problem with her winning is I don't really know what is next for her, you know. But either way, like, I thought it was the right call. Great match, and yeah, maybe match of the weekend, honestly. So yeah, that was, whoops, I hit the mic. Definitely, like, see, I'm just going, I can't show it on here because, like, I'm gonna get yeeted. Ooh, there was a moment where, like, Io did, like, a moonsault, but then Rhea got her, like, feet up and, like, kicked Io right in the face. Oh, and then Bianca does, like, a fucking KOD to Io. Yeah, I have it, like, I have, like, the highlights playing as I'm talking to you. And like I said, I'm not going to show it because, like, that will get me, like, killed off of the internet. But yeah, they put on a great match. This might be one of the best women's matches at WrestleMania. Maybe better than Rhea and Charlotte. I don't know. We'll see. This one was more like of a fast-paced match. Like, that match was, like, more of, like, a slow plotting match that, like, just built. This was, like, right out the gate, they were firing on all cylinders. But yeah, solid opener. Great match. Alright, so next match, next up was Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest in a Sin City street fight. Kind of like the only match with a stipulation, which I feel like WrestleMania kind of needs some more stipulation matches. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just this WrestleMania. I feel like the past few Manias have not had that many stipulation matches. And I get maybe you don't want to overdo it, you know? But, like, I don't know. Just have a few of them, you know? There's some times where they do a match and it's, like, not a very interesting match on paper. But then it's like you add the stipulation, all of a sudden becomes interesting. That's kind of what they did here, honestly. This match, like, first of all, Drew and Damian should not, like, Drew McIntyre especially, but even to an extent Damian Priest as well, should be in, like, a higher spot on the card. You know what I mean? They should definitely, like, Drew McIntyre, maybe not challenging for a world title because he's kind of, like, I don't know if there's a spot for him in the world title picture, but he should, like, it was just very bizarre that they really set him up to face Roman Reigns, which is big, only for him to feud with Damian Priest. And nothing against Damian Priest, but, like, when you set someone up to feud with Roman Reigns and then they end up feuding with Damian Priest, like, that does feel like a downgrade, you know? But they did really win me, and it seems like a lot of people, over with their build. You know, like, I think the moment where Damian Priest chokeslammed Drew onto the car on that one episode of SmackDown, I think that was the moment that won people over. And giving it the Sin City street fight stipulation also really helped. And so yeah, Drew McIntyre comes out and it was a cross promotion for Doom: The Dark Ages, which is another game I cannot wait to play. But that aside, it is annoying when they insert this blatant product placement into matches. But I thought this was relatively, like, harmless. Like, all that happened was Drew, like there was, like, some, like, mount, some, like, sculpture, whatever the fuck, of Doomslayer, and Drew McIntyre just, like, posed next to it, like, and then he moved on, and that was fine, I guess. Like, that, I didn't have an issue with that. Damian Priest had a really cool entrance. Like, Kerry King came out to play, you know, Oh no, it was like Slayer. Like the whole band came out to play or perform his theme song, which I thought that was really cool. Like I think Damian Priest's theme song is definitely like one of the better of the Def Rebel theme songs. And you know, having Slayer there, I thought was a nice touch. And even though Damian Priest he lost this match, and also he he shouldn't have won this match, so he should have lost. He came out with, and he had a lot of aura. You know, that word is overused a lot when it comes to wrestling, but yeah. Anyways, so goddamn, I gotta like not hit the mic so much, but yeah. These two had like a really good match. I'd say another one of the better matches of the weekend, you know, because like it was a brutal match. Like no one was bleeding, but like it wasn't that brutal, but they were just hitting each other. It looked like they were just trying to kill each other, you know. One moment I thought was interesting. This is like a small moment that I don't think anyone's talked about, but I think it says a lot about Drew McIntyre's character. Is when he pulls out the tables, and the most annoying chant, in my opinion, aside from maybe the what chant, but the most annoying chant in wrestling, in my opinion, is whenever there's like a match where there's like a no DQ stipulation. The crowd does not waste any time and immediately starts chanting for tables. It's fucking annoying, right? So, but still, whenever like someone takes out tables, the crowd pops. And if you're a heel, it's a heelish thing to take out a table to tease the crowd, but then put it away, so the crowd starts booing. Drew McIntyre's a heel, but he took out the table and he didn't put it away. And I think that really, like, that's a small detail. I'm probably spending too much time talking about this, but I think that is, like, what am I trying to say here? That's an interesting detail of his character, because he's, like, you know, he's a heel, but he's, like, you know, he's a face-ish heel, you know? Like, a normal heel would have put the tables away and gotten the crowd mad. Drew doesn't seem to have any issues with the crowd. Like, you know what I mean? Anyways, about the actual match, there was like some crazy spots. Like there was a spot where like I think who put it in the turnbuckle? Was it Damian or Drew? Put like a chair in a turnbuckle. There was like these crazy table spots too. Like, let's see here. Like you guys can't see it, but. Yeah, okay, Damian, like, did a razor's edge, right? Yeah, he does, like, a razor's edge to Drew onto a table, and then, like, Drew, I think, later on, like, throws Damian... Oh, no, like, Damian is, like, doing... Was it the old school? Yeah, that's what happened. Through 2 tables. Like, that was crazy. By the way, I'm sorry, like, I kind of need a bit of a refresher, because, like... When I talked about night 1, it wasn't like right afterwards, but like I had gone to bed that night, woken up, done some other things, and then immediately did the night 1 section. With here, there's like it's a lot later in the day where I'm talking about night 2, so I do need a bit of a refresher. So yeah, but either way, they had a really solid match. Drew gave Damian Priest like a crazy looking Claymore kick at one point, and Drew got the win. And I think that was definitely the right call. Part of me was kind of worried that Damian Priest was gonna lose, because he doesn't lose, but he got it. I believe he lost by having like, right? It was. Oh yeah, Drew Claymore kicked Damian into the chair that was in the turnbuckle. And then that is what won Drew the match. And that was the right call, because I feel like Damian Priest has had such a good 2024 that like he can afford a loss Drew has also had a very good 2024, but he was always on the losing end, right? And that's cool because I think he always has like his best momentum losing, because that's when he can like improve his character work, where he's like, you know, he can speak, he can, you know what I mean? Like his best character work is when he's coming off of a loss. But he did kind of need this win because people are saying like, oh, Drew has been kind of mishandled this year. But like he wins this match, and I think he can feud with Cody even if it's not for the title. Like I think that's a good feud for like a good feud to have Cody in. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. Cody lost the title. That's a good feud to have Cody in and keep him out of the title picture for now. And yeah, this was a solid match. Good night so far. The next match was I told you my two favorite matches of the weekend. It was both triple threat matches. This next match, I think, was probably the third best match. You know, and then honestly, the street fight I just talked about was probably number 4. So after I talk about this match, this next match, I think like that's my top 4. But either way, so the next match is the Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental Champion. The champion Braun Breaker defending against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominik Mysterio. These guys did not have like any special entrances or anything. It was really cool seeing Penta's entrance on a WrestleMania stage because he just has a cool entrance, you know, and like he's got the catchphrase, the Cero Miedo thing that the crowd loves to do with him. So that was cool to see on a WrestleMania stage. It was cool to see like Braun Breaker getting a Mania match because this is his first Mania out of, I would assume, a lot. Like I think this man's gonna be main eventing multiple WrestleManias in the future. It was and Dom, like this wasn't his first WrestleMania, far from it, but it's his first one that did not involve his dad. So yeah, and then Finn was, I guess, just the veteran that they threw in this match. You know, and people are saying like, oh, Finn has been getting mishandled, and yeah, I feel like he does deserve like a run in the main event, even if it is a short one, but like I think he is kind of happy to be helping like some of the younger talent, you know. I think he is happy where he is on the card, believe it or not. But I mean, I don't know that for sure. But either way, these guys just had a nice hard-hitting match. Very fast-paced. The crowd was very much behind Dominik, you know? And that's funny because, like, the crowd never lets Dom speak, you know? Whenever he wants to say anything on the mic, they won't let him speak, you know? Like, he can't even do a promo. I actually don't know how... I shouldn't say that. There was a little moment where he was a heel, and then he did promos, and the crowd would let him speak. But, like, that was so long ago. It's like... I'm interested to see, like... At the time of recording, Raw is in, like, a few hours. Like, about, like, 3 hours. And I'm interested to see how the crowd reacts to him then, you know... Because he's someone you hate to love, or you love to hate. But I think you might just want to love him now, because, like, well, before we get there, it was, like, a really cool match. They were all just, you know, it was, okay, well, I have the, you know, there's just some moments, like, Penta's doing his things, like, he looks really cool throughout this match. The story here being told, though, was Finn and Dominik, really. You know, the two Judgment Day members. There's a moment where Finn is on the ropes, like, about to get 619'd, and Dominik goes to do the 619, and the crowd kind of pops for that. They're like, holy shit. But then, you know, Carlito's there. I forgot to mention Carlito showed up at one point. And he's saying, like, don't do it, Dom. And then Finn catches Dominik in the middle of the 619. There's a moment where like where everyone's outside of the ring, like Penta, Dom, and like I'm just remembering this. Penta, Dom, and Finn are just there. Penta's standing, but the other two are kind of like on the ground. And then Braun Breaker just fucking comes out of nowhere and just nails Penta. Like, damn, like Braun Breaker, I don't think he was like... He obviously wasn't like the star of this match, but like if this match was any indication, like that dude is gonna be a big star in the future. Like he is. I said something similar about Jacob Fatu in the part 1 section, but I think the same thing goes for Braun Breaker. He is a future star and a future WrestleMania main eventer. You know, like I think he's got multiple world titles in his future. Maybe even got like a Royal Rumble win in his future. Maybe even like a King of the Ring win in his future. Like, this guy is like an insanely talented talent. But yeah, but the story really was about Finn and Dom. But other moments, there's, of course, you have like the moment where like Carlito is setting up, he's trying to set up Penta for like a power bomb on like one of the announce tables, but then Braun Breaker's on the other announce table and does this insane spear to Carlito through the announce table that Carlito was standing on. Like, that was crazy. Like, Braun Breaker has some insane spears, you know, and he's a really fast dude as well. And it ended with like Finn Balor was like, he did the coup de grace to Braun Breaker, and he's going for the cover, but as he was covering Braun, Dom does a frog splash onto Finn as he's doing the pin, and then he gets the win. It was kind of the same finish as the Rhea, Io, and Bianca match. The one hand, I do feel like, you know, they shouldn't have copied and pasted the same finish, but on the other hand, I think it was effective. I think it still worked. And Dominik Mysterio is your new Intercontinental Champion, and well-deserved. I thought it was either going to be Dom or Penta. Penta was definitely, like, the easy, like, you know, feel-good babyface win, but, like, I think, honestly, it kind of felt that way when Dom won. Even though he's, like, as heelish as they get, he was still, like... He was so over during this match. It felt like he was the babyface, and like he really earned this. Like he's come a long way since he debuted. Like just being he looked like Rey Mysterio's son, who was just happy to be there, and he is Rey Mysterio's son, and he definitely was happy to be there. But like he didn't look. He was just kind of bland, you know, originally. But since he's turned heel and been a part of the Judgment Day, and especially in this past year when he's like with the stuff with Liv Morgan, like he has really come into his own, and I'm happy that he won. He's got his first singles title win on the main roster, that is, and I'm interested to see where this goes. They're definitely gonna do something like Dom and Finn are gonna feud. Is Dom going to be the babyface? Because I thought maybe Finn would be the babyface here. But, like, if the crowd reaction here to Dom is anything to go by, maybe they'll just get back to booing him. We'll see. But, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what happens. And Finn Balor, like, yeah, he took the pin. But going back to what I said earlier, like, I feel like you can kind of see a little bit he's trying not to smile. Because he probably is happy for Dom, and it always warms my heart to see that. So yeah, that is that match. Definitely like the third best match of the weekend. And then yeah, the next match though is an interesting one because it is Randy Orton versus mystery opponent, because he was supposed to face Kevin Owens in what was definitely like, I guess up until it got canceled, definitely one of the better builds of this Mania. Like, absolutely had, like, this match, I think maybe the Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest got the street fight stipulation because Randy Orton and Kevin Owens couldn't get it because they had to cancel that match. I honestly think that. I don't think they would have given both of them like a stipulation like that, even though maybe they both should have. But either way, they had like a blood feud, but then it turns out Kevin Owens is injured and he has like a really serious neck injury, and he couldn't compete at Mania, and he's apparently going to be out for long enough to where he's going to miss next year's Mania. Excuse me. And that's unfortunate. That is very unfortunate. I'm hoping, wishing Kevin Owens a speedy recovery. So then it just became Randy Orton versus a mystery opponent. It's Randy Orton versus issuing an open challenge. So I think that became interesting, and I didn't watch the hype video because I don't have the premium subscription, but what I heard, it kind of felt like it seemed like it was a celebration of Randy Orton, and this is like his 20th WrestleMania. So that's what it was celebrating. So that sounds cool. Maybe I'll watch it like later on. So he comes out there. He's like, anyone in the back, come out and face me. Blah blah blah. There's speculation. Is it gonna be Solo Sikoa? Like, I think it could. They started to build that. Like they started to hint at that. But I thought the second it was clear that they're making it a secret until like Mania. Like, it's not gonna be Solo because you can't do that. Like that. Nothing against Solo, but that's just not interesting. Is it going to be Nick Aldis, right? Is it going to be a returning Rusev or Aleister Black? Turns out, you just see like the doors open on the set, and there's like someone who you can clearly see is wearing a title belt, and it's Joe Hendry. Say his name and he appears. Joe Hendry appears. So yeah. Joe Hendry is Randy Orton's mystery opponent, and this is cool, and this seems, a lot of people thought like, oh, this is a little goofy of a turn after like from Randy Orton's blood feud with Kevin Owens, But I heard Triple H say, like, when asked about it, he said like, oh well, after Kevin Owens had to pull out, we had to change this completely. Like, Randy Orton, he couldn't have like this serious feud or something like that. I forget what it is exactly he said, but I think Joe Hendry like being here was really cool because you get like the TNA. This is the first time like the TNA champion is at WrestleMania, and like he got so over. He tried so long to get. Well, I don't know if you heard that. There's some fucking like vehicle outside, but he tried for so long to get over, and then all of a sudden he became an internet sensation, and it got to the point where they put the title on him in TNA, and he became so over when he crossed over into NXT, even getting like an NXT championship match on like one of the NXT pay-per-views, and then made a surprise appearance in the Royal Rumble in this like giant stadium, and was now picked as like the mystery or the surprise opponent for Randy Orton. And I heard that there was like chatter about, apparently Jeff Hardy was pitched to be the mystery man for Randy Orton, but they went with Joe Hendry. Jeff Hardy would have been really cool too. I feel like though Joe Hendry's more of like, I don't know, like if you want to give it, if you want to have this crossover with TNA, like you pick their world champion. And also like the thing about like not doing it with Aleister Black or Rusev is like you just have them debut and like they would need to win. But Randy Orton kind of needed this win. You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't had a significant win in a while. So I feel like Joe Hendry, you could it's like a big surprise, but you could also have him lose. And they have like a goofy match, you know. It's not that long. Maybe I feel like it could have gone a little longer. Especially when you consider how long the next match was. Like, this match could have gone a little bit longer, but in the end, it ended with like a moment where Joe Hendry does like his turnaround like face thing, and then like the camera work is so great because you just see Joe Hendry just doing his face, and then he gets RKO'd by Randy Orton, and then Orton wins the match. Afterwards, Orton and Hendry, like, they celebrate, you know, but then Orton does another RKO to Joe Hendry. Was this a good match? Not really. Was this like a 5-star classic? Not really. Did this put Joe Hendry over? Not necessarily, but like, look, I think the fact that he was here is good enough. He's protected by having the TNA champion, the TNA world champion, and he was never going to beat Randy Orton. Like, let's be real. I'm sure he was more than satisfied to be there in the first place. Yeah, look, whenever Joe Hendry is done with TNA and goes to WWE, because you know that's where he's going afterwards, right? Like, he is going to be taken in with open arms. You know, he's going to be welcomed in there, no problem. And I think you have him skip NXT at this point. Like, he was in a Royal Rumble match, like, in a big stadium. He's at a fucking WrestleMania and wrestled Randy Orton. Like, come on now. Like, I think you gotta... I think he skips NXT and goes to the main roster at this point. And maybe, like... Maybe the rumor and theory that WWE are going to buy TNA might be true, because like that is kind of crazy that they just did that. But yeah, it was more of a moment than it was a match. Like, it wasn't much of a match at all, but I thought for what it was good. So yeah, that's that. Then we have a match I was looking forward to but kind of disappointed me, and that is Logan Paul and AJ Styles. Now, like, it wasn't a bad match. Like, this match wasn't... Like, it didn't suck or anything. But, like, it didn't really... like, it was kind of slow. But I'll get more into that. Like, this was a very exciting match because they are stylistically very similar. And Logan Paul, look, say what you want about him. He is a piece of shit. He's not a good person. But he's pretty good at this whole wrestling thing, right? And AJ Styles has always been pretty good at this whole wrestling thing. They're both kind of high flyers. They're both, like... They have, like... You know, they got some flashy moves and stuff like that. I think their styles mesh well. But this match kind of just didn't... like, they went for a weirder... Like, a type of match that I didn't really, like, think would have made sense. There was a funny moment where AJ, like, had Logan, like, tied up in, like, the ring apron, which I thought was cool. Like, that was funny. Logan Paul also had a pretty cool entrance where, like, with, like, a drone shot and, like, multiple, like, angles, which I thought that was cool, despite the fact that, like, in the shot that had the multiple angles, 2 of those shots were literally the exact same, but we don't need to talk about that. They had, like, I feel like this match, they try to go for, like, a slower, like, hard-hitting match. Like, okay, I'm on the website, and it says, AJ Styles and Logan Paul combined for a dramatic, hard-hitting brawl. And you see, that one, I don't know if, like, I would have booked this match like that, you know? Like, I don't know if that's, like, these two should have, like, a more of, like, a flashy match, I feel. I guess, like, they wanted to prove Logan Paul is more of just, like, your typical wrestler, you know, Because they usually, whenever it's a Logan Paul match, there's like some shenanigans with his friend Jeff, or whoever the fuck, giving him the brass knuckles. Like, or maybe you have, like, at WrestleMania, you got, like, someone dressed in the Prime bottle, whether it be KSI or IShowSpeed. They didn't have that this year. They did have Jeff with the brass knuckles this time, and that was a cool moment where Jeff was trying to give Logan the brass knuckles, but then you just see a hand just stopping Jeff, and you pans out, and it's Karrion Kross, who has been kind of, like, having, like, a bit of, like, a side feud with AJ Styles. This seemed like a babyface turn almost. Like, he did a very babyface thing and stopped, like, the shenanigans from happening. But then AJ Styles comes out and he starts arguing with Kross, and Karrion Kross is just like, hey, you should use the knuckles, win this match. Like, I know you don't want to win that way, but you should win that way, prove outsiders like this wrong, whatever the fuck. AJ doesn't do it because he's a babyface. But then goes back in, he still gets like a hard punch from Logan, and then Logan does the pulverizer, which is a pretty cool finisher, and even a cooler name for a finisher, I will say, the pulverizer, and wins the match. So I feel like, notice how I didn't really mention much that happened during the match, aside from basically the finish, and basically like some stuff that happened in the beginning, which was like the apron stuff. It's because I felt like this match was kind of forgettable. Like this was the first match of the night where I felt like the crowd was kind of starting to like be a bit tired, you know what I mean? I also don't love the idea that Logan Paul beat AJ Styles. It's not so much Logan Paul, it's like I hate to say this, but like I do like Logan Paul as a wrestler, as a person, as like a YouTuber, as like a businessman, with Prime and Lunch Lane and all that bullshit. I do not like Logan Paul at all. He's a piece of shit, and like I kind of feel like I don't know why people support him in those ventures, to be honest. Wrestling is like the one thing he's like I can have a bit of respect for him. It's like I reluctantly have respect for Logan Paul in the regard of wrestling, because he is really good in the ring. He is really good as a heel. Just like he's a great heat magnet. I remember one time on Raw, people were chanting "No one likes you," which I can't say I've ever heard that chant before. And yeah, it might be go away heat, but like I think it's just the fact that he's just a legitimately unlikable person does help him a lot as a heel, if you know what I mean. So my issue isn't that Logan Paul won. It's like I don't know, it just felt like AJ Styles should have won this match. I feel like it's been longer since AJ Styles has had a meaningful win than Logan Paul. And also, every time these two would have a confrontation on Raw, like during the build, like Logan Paul would like be the one standing tall. So I felt like AJ, should win and prove that like, he's one of the best. And he didn't win. Excuse me. That was gross. But yeah, and like I can understand Logan Paul beating like Rey Mysterio. I can understand Logan Paul beating like Kevin Owens, right? But yet, just AJ Styles just doesn't feel right that Logan Paul has a win over AJ Styles, especially considering AJ Styles has had that insane run with the world title. Just a few it was actually quite a while ago, but just a number of years ago, right? I'm not saying like AJ Styles should leave WWE to go to AEW, as some people have kind of been joking about. Like, I think he is winding down his career. But that aside, I just don't think this match was very good. It wasn't very memorable. It's not a match I'll rewatch. I guess I just expected a lot. AJ Styles has such a weird-ass WrestleMania record. Like, how is his best match? How's his best... Like, he's gone up against the likes of, like, now Logan Paul, but also, like, Edge, Randy Orton, Chris Jericho. But how has his best WrestleMania match been against Shane McMahon? You know? Like, how does that... Like, AJ Styles is such a good wrestler, but for some reason, when he goes up against actual good wrestlers at WrestleMania, just something doesn't work, you know? But yeah, I think the only one that came out of this whole thing actually, like, kind of improved is Karrion Kross. Like, I'm gonna go on a bit of a side tangent. I don't know what this was with this, like, the post show of Mania or something, or like, so, like, I don't really know what this was, but I saw this going around on Twitter. Karrion Kross, like, delivered a promo in, like, some interview, and my God, like, this dude is over. Like, I mean, not even mentioning that he had such a loud pop when he appeared during this match, but, like, this, if that hasn't gotten him over, which it clearly has, but let's just say that hasn't gotten him over, after this promo, he is over. And I think now you have to do something. And it's cool to see that, because for a while, he was not over. Like, he didn't have go away. He just had nothing. You know, like, he would talk, or his music would play, and the crowd would just not even boo. They just wouldn't make any noise. Now, though, like, he is... Like, you got to do something with him. You got to strap him up. Put like one of the mid-card titles on him. You know, put him, like, maybe have him win Money in the Bank. If not, at the very least, have him in that match or something. Like, you got to do stuff with this guy. But as for the match between Logan Paul and AJ Styles, I mean, it's not an offensive match or anything, but it's definitely not a match. I think it's one of the weaker matches of this Mania. The next match of night 2 is the women's tag title match between the team of the champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus the women's Intercontinental champion Lyra Valkyria and not Bayley. It is surprise, a returning Becky Lynch. Now, before we get into the actual match, there's a couple of bones I have to pick here. That didn't, like, have to do with, like, the actual match. Like, if you have the match in a vacuum, like, this doesn't affect that. But, A, why do you gotta do Bayley like that? This was, like, Lyra Valkyria and Bayley are, like, a randomly thrown together tag team, you know, but they won, like, a 45-minute gauntlet match to qualify for this match. Just to have Bayley, like, write her off of out of the match at the last minute, and it apparently was not because of an injury or anything like that. That was just the plan. So the plan was always to just screw over, like, a healthy and, like, ready to go veteran in Bayley, who, by the way, had one of the bigger matches on the card last year, was the winner of the Royal Rumble last year, and you do her like this, you know. And yes, I know Becky Lynch is a bigger star than Bayley, and Becky Lynch returning is, like, a cool moment and a WrestleMania moment as well. But I don't think Becky Lynch is that much bigger of a star than Bayley to warrant this type of, like, shafting. You know what I mean? So that's unfortunate, and that did kind of leave a sour taste in my mouth during this match. And the other thing is, like, it is cool to see Lyra Valkyria in a WrestleMania match, you know, considering she's, like, she's really solid. And she has, like, if nothing else, a really cool entrance. You know, they even gave her, like, the wings and everything. That looked really cool. You know, and she had, like, a really solid, like, first couple of months, and then didn't really do much, but then won the Women's Intercontinental Champion. So there's that, she's the women's Intercontinental Champion. What would have been even cooler is if they actually had her defend the women's IC title. And that goes double for Chelsea Green. She should have been defending the women's US title. How are you going to introduce 2 new mid-card women's titles and have neither of them defend at the biggest show of the year? I don't understand that. I get maybe you have a little too many titles. That's probably an issue. Maybe it's time to unify the men's tag titles at this point. It's night and day between when you look at the state of the Raw tag division and the the SmackDown tag division, and then even which makes it even more baffling considering which one got a match at Mania. But I'm getting off track. Those are just some nitpicks that are tied to this match. But as for the match itself, yes, Becky Lynch came out and was the mystery partner for Lyra Valkyria, and to a loud pop. It's great to see Becky back. They went on to have a solid match. One thing, the women's tag division has also not been handled the best. But even still, since Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez got the titles, they've had some really solid matches, with the titles. I guess they just have good chemistry as a tag team, and everyone they've gone up, every other tag team that they've gone up against, they have good chemistry with all of them, And they had a decent match, I guess, nothing too memorable, but it was more about, the return of Becky Lynch, which was really cool. She was out for almost a year, and it makes sense because Liv Morgan was the one who, retired Becky Lynch. I put that in quotation marks for you audio listeners. And yeah, basically, the whole match was building up to the Becky hot tag, and for Becky to finally get her revenge on Liv Morgan. It ends with Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria winning the women's tag titles. I think it was I was looking through the highlights just a second ago as I was talking. It was Lyra threw Raquel out of the ring, then Liv Morgan threw Lyra out of the ring, but then Becky took Liv and did a manhandle slam for the win, and you get Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria winning the women's tag titles, and Lyra Valkyria is now a double champion, which is really cool. That was not really on my bingo card, and this started some controversy online, specifically on Twitter, or I hate to start this whole shit, but it seems like Liv Morgan stands. Look, nothing against you if you're a Liv Morgan fan, but then there's a Liv Morgan stands, which is different. But they're calling her Becky Hogan. They're calling Becky Hogan, and to be fair, it is a little frustrating to see Liv Morgan have the year that she had. She was, in terms of women, she was definitely the MVP of 2024, and became a big star last year. Even if I don't actually think her run with the world title was really that good, just because she had a really good story throughout the whole thing, I don't think that made her title reign that particularly good when you actually look at what matches were actually involved in there. But either way, I do agree that she probably did deserve something a little better than this, than a randomly thrown together tag match. But at the same time, look, Becky did not bury Liv. Liv Morgan, she did a really, she put in a really good performance. It's not like Becky squashed Liv Morgan here. And also, Becky's getting a win back on Liv here. The last 2 times they met, Liv Morgan won both times, and both those times were for the world title. This was just for the tag titles, and also Liv Morgan's gonna be fine. All of you guys complaining, Liv Morgan's gonna be just fine. In fact, like, I don't see them, like, Lyra, Valkyria, and Becky Lynch. Like, I don't see that being, like, maybe they can still be, like, aligned with each other. You know, they have an on-screen friendship. You know that's just gonna turn into a feud at some point. But like so maybe it doesn't happen quite yet, but I don't see them as tag champs for that long. And who else are they going to drop it to? They could probably drop it back to Liv and Raquel, right? Overall, this was a decent match, you know. You got some really good talent in there. You know, Liv Morgan has had a great 2024, had a great, like, last 12 months, really, actually. Like, basically ever since, like, after WrestleMania last year, she just has been really solid. You know, Raquel, like, she's decent, you know. I guess, like, being, like, the bodyguard or, like, the tag partner of Liv Morgan has helped her out. Lyra Valkyria has been really solid, and, of course, Becky Lynch is Becky Lynch, and it's cool to have her back. This was a decent match, although some sour tastes in my mouth after the way they treated Bayley and the way they are having the women's IC champion not defend her title. At the very least, she's on the show, though. You know, like, Chelsea Green not being on the show is more frustrating, you know, because she's not even on the show at all. But yeah, that was that. Next up was, well, before we got to the main event, we had Stone Cold Steve Austin coming out on, like, an ATV, on a four-wheeler, and I'm only talking about this because he came out to announce the attendance, you know, nothing too crazy, but I'm only talking about this because a moment that was kind of funny, but also, like, probably kind of in a way not funny. He crashed his I was about to say his 18-wheeler. That is not what that was. Can you imagine if he fucking driving an 18-wheeler around, like, the ring? He crashes his four-wheeler into the barricade and knocks a woman down, you know. Now, look, some people are saying, like, this woman flopped. She just wants, like, a paycheck from WWE. Look, I'm not going to give my opinion on that. I just hope everything with her is okay. You could, like, pretty soon after, like, Nick Khan, like, you know, the actual, like, CEO or, like, the promoter of WWE, like, went over there and, like, checked on her, as you should if you're, like, you know. But yeah, it was just a bizarre moment that happened. Yeah, there's the stuff about the attendance being, like, false, whatever the fuck. That happens at every WrestleMania. So yeah, I'm just going to move on from that to the main event. Definitely the most hype match of the show. It is the match for the undisputed WWE Championship. They're still calling it the Undisputed Champion, which I think is bizarre. But it is Cody Rhodes defending his champion against John Cena. But not just any John Cena, a heel John Cena at his last WrestleMania. You know, John Cena is, you know, he turned heel that time. I don't think I need to introduce you to that. Even, like, I know a bunch of people, they don't watch wrestling, but even they knew about John Cena's heel turn. Everybody knew about this. You know, I'm not going to talk about that. But this is John Cena's last WrestleMania. He's on his retirement tour. And he is facing Cody Rhodes for the WWE Champion, and he comes out, and again, they established no new music, no new look. You guys get nothing, you know, that's what he said. But and I think what was interesting is that not even, like, a video package, like not even, like, anything on the Titantron of, like no video or anything like that on the Titantron for him. It's just black, and it's just white text that says John Cena, you know. That, like, he didn't put on, like, a flashy entrance or anything like that. But I think, like, it looked really cool. Surprisingly enough, nothing, just the name John Cena, like, it made a really cool look that it was just all black, you know? Like, that just looked really cool. And then Cody Rhodes came out with, like, a bunch of, like, cyclists and shit. Like, yeah, a bunch of cyclists were there and just riding around. And then Cody Rhodes came out with a helmet, which was, like, motorized, apparently, because it opened up like it was Iron Man. Like, Cody Rhodes had a pretty cool entrance there. And one thing that was interesting is during the announcements and during the introduction, they announced, like, they were announcing John Cena, they were announcing Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is getting booed. Now, look, a lot of people for a while who don't like Cody Rhodes just because he beat their favorite wrestler. A lot of people are like, oh, the fans are going to turn on him at some point. I wouldn't say this is, like, the fans turning on Cody Rhodes, you know? I would not say that. I'd say this is more they wanted John Cena to win. And that the desire for Cena to win, excuse me, the desire for Cena to win was just stronger than any desire to see Cody Rhodes retain, right? And so that's what I think that was. They just couldn't boo John Cena because it's his last WrestleMania. You know what I mean? So yeah, the match itself, interesting. I'll get to the the elephant in the room in a little bit, but as for the match itself, I wasn't expecting a 5-star classic. This is not John Cena in his prime, and even when he was in his prime, like, look, he's one of my favorite wrestlers, like top 2 at the very least. But even when he was in his prime, not that he was a bad wrestler, but he wasn't like a 5-star classic machine, despite the fact that he did have a few 5-star classics, you know. Yeah, I'm not just talking about Dave Meltzer, but even then he did have a 5-star Meltzer classic, but like he had some like really damn good matches, but it was also like when he was paired with the right wrestler, you know. John Cena was more of like, you know, a flashy wrestler, I feel. That was, you know, about like the big moments, you know, with the big moves and stuff. So yeah, sorry about that. I kind of forgot where I was exactly, but yeah, so oh yeah, right. I know what I was talking about. I wasn't expecting like a 5-star classic here. You know, Cody Rhodes is a great wrestler. He is kind of in his prime right now. But John Cena is way past his prime, so John Cena would have to be carried by Cody Rhodes a bit. But they were having a decent match, you know. Like, I think with whatchamacallit, with John Cena was doing all his moves, like the 5-knuckle shuffle, the STF. They called it the STFU instead of the STF, which I thought was interesting. And the the AA. He did an avalanche AA at one point. You know, he's doing all his biggest hits, but heelishly. Like, he's not doing it all fast or anything like that, you know? Which, like, he's doing them all slowly. He does the 5-knuckle shuffle really slowly. Like, he does the slam. Then he does the you can't see me. Then he, like, does, like, the rope thing. And then he does the... Like, he takes his time. So... And a lot of people took issue with that. I didn't quite take issue with that. I thought, like, you know... it makes sense. I think it works. He's a heel now. And he's trying to, like, ruin the moves, you know, that he's done. But the crowd wasn't booing it. The crowd was, like... The crowd just really wanted Cena to win. And then... But then we got to get to the elephant in the room. Because they were having an alright match. It wasn't anything too crazy. I think it was more just, like the star power and, like, the moment of, like, a heel John Cena. And also number 17... put in the main event, of course. But then we get to the elephant in the room, and that is a ref bump. I think like John Cena gets thrown into the referee gets knocked out. Cody Rhodes does like a crossroads to Cena and goes for the cover, which, by the way, I fucking hate this trope whenever there's a ref bump and then someone goes for the cover not realizing that the referee is bumped and like they don't like it's just so stupid. I hate this. It's been overdone. You know, I guess it was fine when it wasn't overdone, but like after seeing this happen in every fucking Roman Reigns match was just like it got like I'm over it, you know? But yeah, that happened. So I'm like, oh boy, shenanigans are about to go down. And then we hear Travis Scott's music hit, or theme hits. And at first it was exciting. Not because of Travis Scott, but like, you know, going back to the segment where John Cena turned heel, he kind of formed like a little group. Turns out it was just for that one fucking night only, but he formed like a little group with The Rock and Travis Scott. So you're thinking Travis Scott it's Travis Scott, but then The Rock's music is gonna play, like how they kind of like merged the two together at Elimination Chamber. You know what I mean? But then Travis Scott, he's walking really slowly down to the ring. He even gets like a fucking like graphic, like a name card, you know. But he's like walking down the ring. His music still is playing. Still going. It's still going. It was clear that The Rock is not showing up. And look, I don't have an issue with Travis Scott showing up. You know, like I didn't really like him being a part of the heel turn, you know, in the segment, because he was just there. All he did was like he slapped Cody like really hard and like busted his eardrum. Excuse me. But I think you established that Travis Scott is a factor in this storyline now. I didn't have an issue with him showing up. But I feel like if The Rock is not going to be there, you can't have Travis Scott there either. Travis Scott is not the next best thing to having The Rock show up, you know? I think WWE have overestimated how much of a desire there is to see Travis Scott involved with this. I guess that they want their mainstream clicks and all that, but don't you get your mainstream clicks anyways if John Cena's transcended wrestling. So why would you need your mainstream clicks for Travis Scott if you have John Cena there, you know? And even before Travis Scott gets involved with the actual match, excuse me, just like him taking so fucking long to get to the ring, that killed any and all momentum this match had. You know, anything that this match was building, any momentum that this match was building, like, before this, dead. Once Travis Scott was taking 5 years to get to the ring. Like, this was a WrestleMania entrance. Like, he was entering a match. You know what I mean? Like, that, it's okay to take your time, because, you know, you want, like, that moment. You want, like, you know, just the cool shot of you going down the entrance ramp. But in the middle of a fucking match, just completely, like, killed any of the pacing and any of the momentum that this match had, right? But then you had Cody doing, like, a crossroads to Cena, which, by the way, before this, Cena was, like, when Travis Scott was coming down, Cena was like, yeah, let's go, that's my boy, or something like that. Like Travis Scott was Cena's ace up his sleeve. Like, look, like, and we'll mention this later, because there's a moment where, like, Travis Scott and Cody Rhodes are, like, staring each other down. In a real fight, like, I don't think Travis Scott stands a chance against Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes kind of, like, dwarfs, he's kind of towering over Travis Scott, you know. But there's a moment where Cody Rhodes does a crossroads to Cena. The ref is alive again and does 1, 2, but then he gets pulled out by Travis Scott. And now it's an issue where Travis Scott has actually, like, interfered with the match, you know? Like, at first, it was, like, he just killed the pacing and the momentum of the match. Like, that could have been fixed by having Travis Scott maybe come out with Cena at the beginning, you know, when Cena was making his entrance. But I guess maybe, like, it would have ruined the, like, nothing entrance that Cena was trying to go for. But, like, now Travis Scott has made a difference in the match, right? And that's just, like, no. What gets brought up a lot, and what I think this will get compared to a lot, was, like, SummerSlam, I think 2013. It was, like, John Cena versus Seth Rollins in, like, a unification, or maybe not a unification, but they're, like, it was, like, for, like, both champions online, like, the U.S. title and the world title, right? And fucking Jon Stewart interfered with that match and cost John Cena the match in a fucking, like, big-ass, like, double champion match at SummerSlam. Jon Stewart was the difference maker. That's kind of what happened here. I mean, granted, it's not like for a double champion, but it's like for the undisputed title, which I'd say the prestige of that title has gone significantly up since that whole Jon Stewart thing, right? Because of everything with Roman Reigns and all that, and even Cody Rhodes' reign, you know, right? And you have, not only that, it's like you have, like, the previous face of the company versus his successor in Cody Rhodes. And say, love it or hate it, Cody Rhodes is John Cena's successor. It's also John Cena's heel, like, his heel debut, well, maybe not debut, but, like, his first time, like, wrestling since his heel turn. And also, it's his final WrestleMania, and also it's his quest for the 17th. This match is a massive deal, and a fucking rapper it was the difference maker in this match. That's frustrating, you know. And so, like, you know, as I alluded to earlier, Cody and Travis stare down. Cody does give Travis Scott, like, a crossroads, which was satisfying to see after, like, Travis Scott blew Cody's eardrum, you know. And then, like, after that, it's like Cena is about to hit Cody with the title from behind. Cody turns around, Cena charges up and then stops. And then they're like doing a tug of war. This was cool, like, it's symbolism. They're fighting for the title, but then they're also literally physically fighting over the title, which I just thought that was cool. They're doing like a tug of war. Cody grabs the title. Then Cena pleads with Cody to not hit him with it. Cody is like, you know, I'm the good guy. I'm the babyface. He puts the title down. Cena boots Cody in the Rhodeses. You know, gives him a low blow. And then hits Cody with the title. 1, 2, 3. Like, the referee missed all that. Cena is the new champion. Right result. The atmosphere was great as well, right? Even if, like, them booing Cody did take me out of it a little bit, but at the same time, they wanted to see Cena win number 15, so that's understandable. And I think it was interesting that, like, that Cena, he won the match. Like, I think it's a good storytelling where he, you know, he tried all his big moves as a heel, didn't put Cody down. When he went to sneaky tactics with, like, a low blow and a title shot to the face, that's what did it. You know, he didn't win by using any of his actual moves in his arsenal. He won by a low blow and a weapon, right? That's interesting, and I like that detail. But it's just like, it's just like, I can't. This match is tainted, I feel, because, like, Travis Scott was, because A, Travis Scott was involved, and B, The Rock was not involved. And there's a tweet that I saw that has been making the rounds. Let's see if I can pull it up. All right, I found the tweet. It's from Humble Wrestling. I'm reading the tweet. I actually believe in that theory now. Big Dwayne just shows up on any random night on a WWE show, so the writers have to write something for him so that he's happy without any guarantee that he's coming back to finish the story. Triple H must hate him because there was no mention of him at... Okay, so that... I don't know if Triple H hates him, right? I think Triple H is like a professional, but either way, yeah, I agree. I think that is absolutely the case. And I think it's got to stop. Like, I know it's hard to say no to The Rock. And, hell, with his, like, backstage power and his power within the company, it might even be impossible to say no to The Rock. But they have to find a way to say no to The Rock, because he's just going to keep, like, hurting storylines like this, Like, him randomly showing at Bad Blood, him, like, all of a sudden becoming a babyface at the Raw Netflix debut, just to be a heel again on that random episode of SmackDown. And now his involvement clearly didn't lead to anything. But even if he's not going to show up, did you really need Travis Scott? Like, I feel like you could have, like, removed all that. Maybe given Cena and Cody a bit more time to have, like, a match, like, because the match also kind of felt kind of one-sided for, like, most of it, right? So what you could have done was, like, remove all the time Travis Scott was in there, with just a bit more wrestling between the two, and have Cena win... No, I don't want to say clean, because I do like the idea of him winning through, like, heelish tactics. But have him win without interference, If The Rock's not going to be there, don't have Travis Scott be there. So that's that. And it sucks because John Cena winning was absolutely the right call. And there was a lot good about this match. I thought John Cena wrestling like a heel and going slowly was actually pretty cool to see. And I thought his entrance was cool. Cody's entrance was cool. And the way in which Cena won was cool. Even if, like, after everything that happened, it felt a little bit flat. It just didn't, like when we saw that, like, and when, like, it was, the ref was counting 1, 2, before he said 3, I'm like, no, Cody's going to kick out, right? Because even though, like, I knew Cena was going to win this match, that just didn't feel like it was when the match was going to end. It just didn't... Like, there was a lot of time still left on the show as well. Unfortunate that it ended this way. It sucks because night 1 was a really good night. Or, no, like, kind of a mid to, honestly, bad night of WrestleMania. But with an absolutely amazing main event that it's all anyone's going to talk about from night 1. And it's the complete opposite case for night 2. Night 2 was a really good night of WrestleMania, really damn good matches. But all anyone's going to talk about is the one kind of whimper of a main event. Yeah, and a lot of people are saying, like, WWE's in the shitter now, like, and I feel like I feel like a lot of that's been overblown. They're not, like, this is not... You guys were not there back in, like, 2018 or 19 when Vince McMahon was losing his goddamn mind, right? Like, that was really bad, For you saying that this is, like, the worst WrestleMania ever, you guys just haven't seen that many WrestleManias, because, like, I mean, look at the damn good matches on night 2, and then the main event of night 1. But that main event wasn't it. I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm interested to see, like, what they do for both guys. Cody, like, obviously you're gonna have to have him chase the title eventually, right? He has to, like, like, I feel like you don't do John Cena versus Cody Rhodes and never have Cody Rhodes win. Having him lose this time was the right call. You know, you want to have your babyface, like, there's money to be made in the babyface chasing the title, right? But, you know, move Cody away from the picture for a bit. And Cena, like, just have him go on his retirement tour, have him do one last match with, like, Randy Orton, with CM Punk, with AJ Styles, you know, have him, like, put him up against some guys who he hasn't gone up against, like, maybe whenever Sami Zayn comes back, have him go up against Sami Zayn. They had one more matchup against Roman Reigns, maybe. You know, there's a lot you can do with Cena now. So that's it. That's night one. Night two, rather. Really good matches, but kind of a bad finish. Like, definitely one of the worst. Like, there's some really bad Mania main events. Like, and this is the ones that I'm thinking of. Like, this is definitely better. Like, I think this is better than, like, that awful trifecta that Roman had, like Big Dog Roman, I mean, you know. This is definitely better than, like, those matches, but it's gotta be one of, like, the weaker and one of the more disappointing ones and one of the more fucking baffling ones, you know. But yeah, as for WrestleMania as a whole, this one was definitely Triple H's weakest of the ones he's booked. But the way I'm choosing to be optimistic here is everyone's got a bad day at the office, you know. This is Triple H's third WrestleMania. Technically, 39 was a Vince McMahon Mania, but that one definitely felt, at least a good chunk of it, felt like a Triple H Mania, right? And you look at the stars that were on there, like, it was definitely, like, Vince McMahon had his, like, some of his, like, hands on that, you know, and especially on some of the booking, but that was a Triple H Mania mostly. This is his third Mania, and I think, you know, everyone's got a bad day at the office. This is probably Triple H's bad day at the office. Hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come. This is just, and it's not even that bad. It's not even that bad. It is, like, there's just, I mean, this whole build wasn't good, right? And the thing is, this WrestleMania, I don't think it's that bad, but it does have some really bad things in it, or some really just underwhelming things in it, which makes the build seem even worse. Like, that makes it all seem like a bigger deal. We'll see where things go from here. It was still WrestleMania, and it was still exciting, and I still enjoyed it. I don't think I'll ever not enjoy a WrestleMania unless it's, what was it, like fucking 32? Like, what did that shit even have? That was like the one with Roman and Triple H. That shit was awful. But yeah, that was this episode of DPX Talks for about an hour. We'll wrap it up here. This second recording alone is an hour and 21 minutes, so... And there was already an hour before this shit started. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I don't really talk about wrestling that much outside of this podcast. In fact, when it comes to, like, non-podcast stuff, I almost never talk about wrestling. Like, the YouTube channel you're probably watching this on, this is a gaming YouTube channel, and secondarily, like, a movie and TV YouTube channel. Wrestling is, like, almost never gets talked about, unless it's, like, a wrestling game, pretty much. So yeah, but hey, you know, I like to do this every year, and hey, I made a poll originally asking if you guys wanted me to do it, and you guys wanted me to do it, so yeah, anyways, thanks for watching / listening. If you're on YouTube, go over to my, SoundCloud. I'm still on SoundCloud, DPX Talks for about an hour, but I'm also, I didn't mention this, but the last episode made it onto, you know, pretty much anywhere where you get your podcasts. It's on it's on Apple Music, it's on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, even Deezer, which sounds like a D's Nuts joke, but like that's a podcast website. I think it's even on Pandora. Like, anywhere you get your podcasts, I think you can find my DPX talks for about an hour on there. And if you're on any of those, go over to my YouTube channel, DPX Solo. Subscribe to me. You get to see what I look like if you just know me from these audio versions, and you get to see some other content from me that isn't the podcast. Anyways, bye guys!